The airport terminal was humming with its usual chorus of rushing travelers, beeping carts, clinking suitcases, and garbled flight announcements echoing overhead. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary until it was. A deep, guttural bark shattered the rhythm of normalcy. Rex, a German shepherd from the airport's elite K9 security unit, had locked eyes on a seemingly harmless elderly man in a wheelchair. No one paid attention to the man before. He blended into the background like so many others, fragile, tired, and quiet. But to Rex, something was off. His muscles tensed. His nose twitched. Then suddenly, he lunged forward. Gasps erupted as the dog bit into the bottom of the wheelchair, tearing open a nylon bag strapped tightly beneath it. Within seconds, a small metallic cylinder rolled out onto the cold, polished floor. A dull clang echoed. What followed was chaos. People screamed. Security guards yelled for evacuation. And Rex, still growling, stood between the crowd and the object that now sat in plain sight: a crude, homemade bomb made of wires, a broken mobile phone trigger, and what would later be confirmed as actual plastic explosives. What was taped underneath that wheelchair had the power to kill hundreds. But one dog stopped it just in time. 6 months earlier, that same elderly man had been someone else entirely. His name was Ibrahim. Once a well-loved English teacher at a public school in Lahore, he had spent decades helping students find meaning in poetry and prose. His days were simple: he sipped chai in the mornings, marked essays in the afternoons, and watched the news with his wife in the evenings. His daughter, Sarah, visited often with her 2 little girls. Their laughter echoed through the modest home filled with books, hand-drawn art, and the sounds of life. But one December morning, thick with winter fog, tragedy struck. Sarah was driving her daughters to school when a speeding truck smashed into their car at an intersection. All 3 were killed instantly. Ibrahim got the call just after Far prayer. That was the moment his life fractured. In the weeks that followed, grief became a second skin. Ibrahim stopped eating regular meals. He left food on the stove to burn. He no longer shaved. Neighbors grew concerned, but no one could reach him. And then came the second blow. His wife, already weak from age and heartbreak, collapsed one evening in the kitchen and passed away before help could arrive. The doctors called it a stroke, but anyone who knew her would say she died of sorrow. Alone now in a house filled with memories, Ibrahim slipped into silence. He disconnected the landline. He stopped going to the mosque. He would sit in his daughter's old room for hours, staring at the framed photo of Sarah and her girls, his face vacant, barely blinking. The world moved on, but he didn't. Eventually, seeking an outlet, Ibrahim wandered into online grief forums. There, he poured out his anguish anonymously, typing about loss, injustice, and God's silence. That's where he met someone named Farid Bai. Farid sent kind messages. He quoted verses and had long late-night chats about life, fate, and anger. He listened. Or so it seemed. Over weeks, Farid earned Ibrahim's trust. Then slowly, he began speaking about resistance, about how the world ignores the pain of people like Ibrahim. He spoke in vague, passionate terms, not hatred, just righteous rage. One day, Farid made a request. He said, "Ibrahim Bai, there is a simple task. You won't be harmed. Just take this package with you on a flight. It's just symbolic. It's our message to the world." Ibrahim hesitated, but he was vulnerable, lost, and desperate for meaning. What Farid promised him wasn't violence, it was purpose. Meanwhile, in another corner of the same country, a dog named Rex was being trained to save lives. He had been found as a puppy injured, malnourished, and abandoned in a storm drain. With one ear partially ripped and his skin covered in mange, Rex was nearly euthanized for being aggressive and untrainable. But fate intervened. Officer Mariam Khan, the first female K9 handler in her unit, saw something in his eyes, not violence, but grief. Mariam herself knew what it felt like to be shattered. Her younger brother had been killed in a school shooting when she was just 17. She never fully recovered. Instead, she turned her pain into purpose, joining law enforcement and working in K9 rehabilitation. Training Rex wasn't easy. He snarled at everyone, refused commands, and once chewed through his leash in fear. But Miriam never gave up. Over 14 months, they formed a bond no one could break. She taught him to detect bombs, track contraband, and respond to emotion. And Rex, in turn, learned to trust her, love her, and protect those around him with unwavering loyalty. On the day of the airport incident, Miriam and Rex had been doing routine checks at gate 32. They were tired. It had been a long shift. But as they passed a quiet, frail man in a wheelchair, Rex's demeanor shifted instantly. His tail stiffened. His ears shot up. He growled low, controlled, but deeply serious. Miriam had only heard that growl twice before, once during a training with live explosives and once at a school during a real threat. She immediately called out to the man, asking him to stop. The man Ibrahim looked up, startled, confused. His hands trembled. He clutched the armrest. His eyes were distant, empty. Before she could question further, Rex lunged beneath the chair and bit into the travel bag. The moment the object rolled onto the floor, Miriam radioed for backup. Emergency protocols were initiated. The crowd was evacuated. The bomb squad moved in. But amidst the chaos, Miriam noticed one thing: Ibrahim didn't try to run. He just sat there. And then he began to cry. In the interrogation room, Ibrahim confessed everything. He told them about Sarah, the accident, his wife's death, the loneliness, and the man named Farid. Investigators confirmed the device was real but crudely made. Had it exploded mid-flight, it could have caused mass casualties. But what shocked them more was that Ibrahim had no idea it was an actual bomb. He truly believed he was carrying a symbolic message, not a weapon. His mental health evaluation revealed signs of severe depression, trauma, and manipulation. The courts, after long deliberation, sentenced him not to prison, but to psychiatric rehabilitation, under full security. 3 weeks later, Ibrahim made an unusual request. He asked to meet Rex, the dog who had stopped him. Miriam was hesitant at first. But eventually, she agreed. When they brought Rex to the rehabilitation center, Ibrahim was sitting quietly under a tree in the courtyard. His shoulders hunched. His eyes red. As Rex approached, there was no barking. No growling. The dog walked calmly, then sat beside Ibrahim, resting his head gently on the man's knee. Something broke open inside Ibrahim that day. He cried like a child. And for the first time in months, he felt something close to peace. Over the next few months, Ibrahim began to heal. He took part in therapy. He began journaling, first short notes, then poems, and finally full stories. He wrote about loss, redemption, and most of all, about a dog named Rex who saved him. His writings were shared with other patients. Staff noticed he smiled more, sat upright, even started helping others in group therapy. Slowly, Ibrahim found meaning again, not in anger or bitterness, but in reflection and grace. A year later, Ibrahim was invited to speak at a community center for troubled youth. He walked to the stage unaided, no wheelchair, just a cane. His voice trembled at first, but his words were steady. He spoke not of violence, but of how grief can make us blind. Of how silence can become poison. And of how one animal, trained with love, can save a soul. Miriam and Rex sat quietly in the back row. As Ibrahim finished, a hush fell over the room. Then a student stood and clapped. Another followed. Soon, the entire room rose to their feet. If this story moved your heart, if you believe in the power of redemption, in the unseen intelligence of animals, and in the ability for one bond to change a life, then please like this video, subscribe to Pawsitive Tales, and share this story with someone who might need to hear it today. Special request. If you felt anything at all while listening to this story, please leave a short comment below. Your support helps us continue bringing these powerful, life-changing stories to the world.